As I was saying, the wild ones are not us. They are the animals that you will see. And I think you will see scenes that you have never imagined before. I've seen a lot of Africa. I've been there a number of times. I've seen many photographs of Africa. I have rarely seen anything that even resembles what we're going to go into. So with that, let me introduce the other Peter and take it from there.
Hi, I'm Peter Heistein, and I have been running tours in Africa for the last 5 years, originally working for Microsoft. I'm gonna start out, I do my tours in Tanzania, and we're starting out up in the Ngorongoro crater, and it's part of the Serengeti ecosystem, which encompasses what is called the Great Migration. And what that entails is approximately 1.5 to 2 million animals, wildebeest, zebra, et al., on the move throughout the year. And they run in a clockwise motion around the park, and then they've expanded the park with game reserves on the outside and nature preserves to incorporate the entire migration. So there's no interruption for the animals. They don't cross any major roads. They're completely free to roam. The northern part of this migration crosses the border into Kenya up into the Masai Mara, which probably most people are familiar with. And that's a small sliver of the entire migration. The animals wind up there in the late fall, early winter. There's a river crossing that's really famous. And then they come south, and midwinter, they're down in the southern part of the Serengeti in Tanzania, which is where this is. The calving season happens in January, February, and then March and April, the heavy rains stop. There's basically rainy season and dry season in Africa. And in March, they go into what they call the short rains, where you have intermittent rain squalls during the afternoons. And other than that, you have lush green environment and animals that have just had their newborns and are extremely good looking. So anyway, so we're starting up in one of the lodges that we stay at on the top of the Ngorongoro crater. It's pretty high. The sides of the mountain are fairly high up, so it's rather cool and very lush. The jungles are extremely lush. So this is what it looks like out on the porch.
High up means what? In terms of
I think this one's 4,000 to 5,000 feet high, something in that order.
So we're talking Cascades.
Yeah, and quite a bit cooler than the other environment. It's good jacket weather.
Yeah.
So here we go. This is the road down. You can see the crater behind me. It's about a 4 to 5 mile circumference, and it encompasses a set of forests. It has lakes, plains, and basically is like a microcosm of Africa. So it's a great place to start out.
You were referring to the whole ecosystem as a park. I think when we think of a park, we think of something manageable and small. What's the dimension of this park?
Yeah, if you think of like Yellowstone National Park and increase it by a pretty good amount because of the adjunct areas that you have, it's that size. So, the size of Rhode Island, for example. So it's fairly extensive.
Yeah.
It's very extensive, yeah. And most of it's wild. There are no paved roads through the parks. It's all dirt. And so it keeps the traffic slow, better for the animals.
Indeed.
So yeah, we're just heading down into the crater. Yeah, this is still funky here.
Peter, it's really okay from our point of view. Just keep going, okay?
It's zoomed in really, really bad on my screen. But anyway, so yeah. So elephants are, they travel in and out of the crater And these guys are probably heading up to go out onto the plains. So they were meeting us as we first started.
Go back to the elephant. The tusks on that elephant, did they tell you anything about the age?
To me, this is an adult bull, but fairly young. So he's probably 20 to 30 years old, something like that. He's not one of the big ones. We'll
And
see.
in terms of a lifespan, he's good for how long?
An old bull will see one of those. They get to be between 60 and 70 years old. So it's very similar to our lifespan.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm guessing this guy is middle-aged. It's a good sized bull. The tusks, when they're fully out, are going to be 2 to 3 times longer than this. So can you guys see the feet on this guy?
No, we cannot.
Yeah, that's the problem I have. We're getting cut off.
Let's keep going because we've already.
I'll just keep going. That's too bad. Yeah. So anyway, we'll just keep going here. This gives you a feel for
Go back to him.
Okay.
Go back to him,
Yeah.
because who is he?
That's Oscar.
That's Oscar.
Yeah. This is a Cape buffalo, similar in size to our buffaloes, a little bit meaner, a little bit more aggressive, and usually come in pretty big packs. So anyway, this gives you a feel for the forest, just how lush it gets.
Go back a second.
Yeah.
That's you, right?
Yeah.
Sticking out.
That is indeed.
And the environment here is, this is what they would be going through as they go through on their migration, or?
No, this is about 2/3 of the park are forested, but the forests are fairly open like this.
Yeah.
And then again, we're still in the crater, so this is a small little piece up on the, I believe it's the northeast side of the crater. It runs for about 3 miles through the crater. Yeah, this guy, obviously, if you're seeing the same thing I am, all you see is the face. And this guy came right up to the vehicle. It was unbelievable.
Like how close?
Oh, very close. I'm going to keep motoring on. Anyway, this is one of the teams that we were with. So we are getting out of the vehicle here, and this is what we're taking pictures of.
These guys are doing what?
They're feeding.
They're feeding.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're feeding
All right.
on the lake bottom.
And we were, before we did this, you were talking about when you took this picture, it actually didn't look like this. What happened?
Yeah, when it came out in raw format, I shoot everything in raw. This picture almost looked black and white. The reflectiveness of the water really blew out all of the color. And so I worked pretty hard just to bring the color back. I didn't have to do anything to modify it, but it was a real balancing act between the lights, the darks, and everything else to pump the color back in.
It's a good lesson for people who are into digital photography and have even consumer quality cameras. When you shoot in RAW, it gives you the ability to bring things out of your picture that are there, but not instantly in the picture that comes up on the screen. And it's worth taking the time, because if you imagine what this would look like in pure black and white, it's nothing compared to the liveliness of what this picture is.
The dynamic range is the issue here.
Yeah.
So if you were shooting JPEGs, for example, the blacks and the colors would be very washed out.
Right.
So it just, the camera the camera has a difficult time capturing it. So you need the dynamic range you get with RAW, and you're able to pull that back out if you work in a product like Lightroom or Luminar.
And when you were there and looking at this, what was your eye telling you?
This.
Did you see this?
I could see this, and the water actually looked blue. So the water looks more like this color.
Uh-huh.
And that was simply because I was really zoomed in with a big lens on it. and didn't have the background green reflecting in the water. And so the highlights, the spectral highlights were just blowing the thing out. This picture I barely had to touch. This came out quite well. Again, he's more in the shade, and so it's a better image.
Now, what is he doing?
This is a threat display. So there's a couple of ears to the right next to him. And so that's his gal.
Yeah.
And so he's letting the other guys know
She's mine.
to back off, right? And here's the response. And so it's once again,
It's a noisy response, right?
Yeah. Little flamingos. The lakes here are completely, in this time of year, are just lined with these pink flamingos. It's just really gorgeous.
And the extraordinary thing in this picture is the angle on their heads. I mean, normally you see a group of flamingos like this, and to get them all in one position, that's the art of this picture.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it's just patience and
Yeah.
you have to take a lot of pictures.
That's,
Get them in line with their heads out of the water. They're feeding in the lake, so they're usually their heads are buried in the water. Wait, back up. One of the vervet monkeys in a bit of a sticky wicket, so to speak. He's actually eating the thorns. So he pulls them off one at a time, turns them around, and just makes a little meal out of these.
Crunch.
Yes. This gives you a feel for the beauty of the crater. You get those backdrops are just amazing. It's extremely lush.
And the distance from the elephant to that hill behind is what?
Mile.
About a
and a
mile
half.
or so?
Yeah.
And in between, what do we got?
There's a lake that you can't really see. The brown stripe behind it is lake. And then it doesn't really show up, but these little dots right here are all flamingos lining the lake. They're all the way along the lake.
It's the chorus.
Yeah. Now this is a big tusker. This is probably one of the 18 largest tuskers left in Africa. The crater is pretty cool for both rhinos and the elephants. It's very well protected. It's isolated, and it's under observation day and night. Anyway, this guy, and he usually hangs out with another even larger one, are the two main reasons that we go into the crater. So I was only able to get this guy once where he actually had his head up and was in a good position with great light. And so this was a real treat.
And he'd be what, late middle age to older
Yeah, I'm
age?
guessing this guy's around 60, 65. Yeah.
He's been around.
Just gorgeous. And
What's the tree? Go back to the tree.
Just set of palms.
Just a set of
Yeah,
palms.
set of palms. This is a view from the top of the crater. We're headed out of the crater now, going into the Serengeti, but it gives you a feel for the size of the crater. There's the lake down in the far distance, and to the right, towards the edge of the trees, you can see the trees along in here, and that's the forested area that I was driving through.
Uh-huh.
So that gives you just a sort of feel for. And again, that's about a 5 mile radius around the edge of the crater.
And to us, it looks like it's deserted.
Yes.
And in reality, what's in there?
Everything. So there'll be.
So there are thousands of animals in there.
Yeah. There's wildebeest primarily are the big herd animals. They don't get as many zebra as you get out in the Serengeti, which we'll be seeing shortly. As we drive down, this is now Olduvai Gorge in the far distance, and there's always a great set of giraffes as you leave the park. The only sort of civilization between Ngorongoro and the Serengeti are the Maasai. They have quite a few villages in between the two parks. They're running their cattle there. Pretty cool people. Amazing culture.
And colorful.
Yeah. So this is, now we're finally getting into the Serengeti, and over to the left here, this is the first view that we have of the migration. And you always have this feeling coming out of the crater, you've seen a lot of stuff, but to actually get into the migration is just overwhelming. It's just amazing to see the amount of animals. So again, there's about 1 million to 1.5 million animals that are on the move. And it's a mixture, primarily zebra and wildebeest that are on the move.
These being
this is the wildebeest.
Yeah.
These little guys born into the migration, they never leave it. They keep moving year round. They're constantly on the move.
They're like sharks on land.
Yeah. So just, you know, zooming in, this is a cheetah, a big male cheetah. Beautiful animals. We'll see more of them in the future. As we got towards the evening, there's a set of lions here, a younger lion, his mom, and then the big boy.
You're at what range here?
Here?
Go back to the lion.
Oh, he's probably about, I would say, 15 feet from me, something like that. Across a road would be the thing, and it's just peeking over this little ridge. He never came up from that, and we didn't stick around because it's about to get dark. You have to be out of the park by the time the sun goes down. So we didn't have time to wait. But he was just hunkered down in the grass. It'd been raining for a while. You can see he's wet, and happy to see us go. This is on the way up to the camp. This guy's even closer. So yeah, this is almost a wide angle lens to completely filling the frame. That was pretty cool. And then here's a group of them in the evening.
When I first saw this picture, I was asking Peter, can the elephants see that rainbow?
Yeah, and the answer is yes. If I turn this into black and white, you would have a similar view of the elephants. They don't have full color range like us, but they would be able to see the difference between the luminosity.
That there is something there.
Yeah, they'd see it. They know we're there. We're quite a ways away here. We're probably 40 yards, 50 yards out, not wanting to get close. There's quite a few more on either side of the image. Elephants can be difficult in a group because they tend to be feeding the whole time. So this was one of the few shots where all their heads are up. But you have a mixture here. I think these are all females, and a mixture of this is probably the matriarch of the group, right? And this little batch, more than likely are sisters and their kids. So yeah.
And do we know socially, is it a matriarchy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the guys are loners.
Well, they do run in the herds as well, but they're not as attached as the females. The females stick together. Yeah. So got up early. This is
that's what, sunrise?
Yes. Well, it's still night. We had to get up really early to take a drive to go to this next spot, which is called the Moro Kopis. So this is in the camp, and moonrise or moonset happening. You can see stars up above.
And one characteristic in Africa, for people who haven't been there, is we enjoy long twilights, long dawns, and here it's like a light switch, right?
Yeah.
As you near the equator, it's light and dark happen very suddenly. And that little light off the end of the tree is a star.
Yeah, stars up.
Right.
Yeah. So it had been raining a little bit. My wife's in the front seat, and she tells the driver to gun it. You can see the smile on
from the front seat.
Yeah. So here's another set of wildebeest, and they're on the run. So when they move fast, they can really be crazy. They spotted the vehicle. They're going to go around us. Here they are running by, but you can see in the background here, there's this big line of them coming through. They turn around and then they come around this way. And this will go on for miles and miles. They will literally go from horizon to horizon, and they run in a trot. They just trot, and they can trot like that all day. And these guys are moving, the entire area is lush and green. So they're moving through areas if they've been, if they've been in there for a while, they want to move to new spots. And they're also avoiding the really damp, wet areas, right? So they're moving to dry ground. They're on the move the whole time. So you'll be in an area and there'll be, thousands of these guys, and then, it disappears. Now here's the Cape buffalo again.
Pause for a second. Do they sleep at night, or do they keep moving?
They keep moving.
They keep moving.
Yeah, they're much like deer, so they'll sit for a while and they'll sleep then.
Yeah.
And so they're down.
Like cat naps.
They're like cattle in a lot of ways. So they chew their cud and they do that whole thing and they get some sleep. And they'll be down for 40 minutes to an hour and then up for 2-3 hours and then down for 2 hours and up. They're up and down. So they're very much like cattle in terms of that behavior, or deer.
And there's a leader of the pack that everybody follows?
Again, with wildebeest, they're going to be in small clumps and then just part of the bigger herd. Yeah. And
Is there a front and a rear, or is it big enough to make a...
Yeah, it's more of an environment.
Yeah.
You will see a front. I mean, there's a picture up here where we get to the front of it, but typically when you'll come across like either that big line like we saw in the beginning there, or they'll just fill the whole valley.
Right.
Yeah. This is the Cape buffalo again, and like I said, they typically walk in pretty big herds. There's a lion off to the right of me, and so these guys are all like wagging their heads up and down and being very threatening. They're sitting watching. The lion's just sitting there quietly, just like, I'm fine, don't worry.
And to what extent is that lion a threat for these guys?
Individually, a big one. Yeah. But like I was saying, typically lions are going to be up on the copies here.
Yeah.
And, they'd go after this maybe, but a big group of them like this, they're not going to touch it. Yeah. This cheetah's walking through the rain, and he looks miserable, and I believe he was miserable. The zebras are kind of like, okay, we don't need to worry about this guy. This is a carousel. It's pretty unusual to see these guys. I've only seen this one. Our driver was a Maasai, and he was able to figure out how to get this guy. He knew the area. He hadn't seen one there, so he said, "You guys are really lucky." And he was watching the behavior. This guy was on the hunt for something, and he was able to use the terrain to get us in position. There's a little track that's going through the grass. This guy came right down it, so he had us in the right place, the right time.
Cat family.
Yeah.
The ears on him. The first time I saw this, I reacted. I thought, my God, the ears look like they grafted on from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like they have nothing to do with the rest of the animal.
It's an Egyptian god. Yeah, really cool cats.
They're regal-looking cat.
They're fairly small, right?
Yeah.
So this is about twice the size of a house cat, and pretty lean. A mouser.
Yes.
Definitely a mouser. Here's a little Schaefer letting us know who the boss is.
With very little tusks. This was a shot I asked Peter to put in because I've never seen an elephant do that. When you go to the elephants in the zoo, generally there's nothing that they have high up that they can reach for. But this was, to me, a great shot of feeding from on high.
Yeah, they'll actually stand on their hind legs and get up as high as they can to get the perfect delicacy. And if they can't reach that, they'll take the tree down. Impala, beautiful light. And I love the way the horns reflect the shape of the tree. So I had to grab that one.
That's extraordinary.
Really pretty. This is the Morocopes again, just beautiful landscape, these rolling hills. The Kopi are these rock outcroppings that you have here. This is the lions and cheetahs love to hang on these for good visibility. Set of giraffes.
You've really become the professional at getting to have their heads at the same angle.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Take a lot of pictures.
And
hope for the best.
Spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
It takes a while.
Yes.
Yeah. And these guys just happened to be launching off. They were all in the shade underneath the tree and decided it's now time to move.
And how tall are they really? In terms of something we could reference.
14 to 18 feet, somewhere between a story and a half to two stories on a big one. These are probably a story and a half.
If your bedroom is upstairs, you could stick his head in.
Yeah, they'd be happy to. Here's two little ones.
There's another shot.
Yeah.
How often do you get that?
Once.
Two guys with their heads together.
They do this headbutt. It's a greeting, and these two were buds, big buds, so that they hung out. We followed these guys for a little while.
And the difference in the coloration between the two?
They appear to be two different types, but I think it's a morph on this one. So I don't know if it's only when they're juveniles. I've seen larger ones.
Yeah.
But the markings, look similar. So I don't know for sure if that's a different breed. I think it's just a morph.
Yeah.
Yeah. The close up on the lighter guy.
And the tufts on the hair, or what?
They're like rhino horns. It's a hair. It's all hair.
It's all hair.
Yeah, and they grow them young, and they keep them throughout life.
Has a gentle face.
Yeah. Now we're getting into the cheetah, and I was lucky the little one popped up out of the grass. There's two others in there as well. This lasted seconds, so we were lucky to get this. So dry riverbed behind, which is the gray. And she's on the hunt, and so she's having to hunt and mind kids at the same time. The cheetahs are pretty much individual. We've seen some groupings, groups of 3 males that are hunting together, but typically they are loners. The moms with 2-3 babies, they have a tough time. These guys are pretty threatened in the Serengeti right now. They're not doing so well. They don't know, but they think the hyenas have come in and are pushing them out. So
pushing them out in what sense?
They're competing.
They're competing.
Yeah, we saw the cheetahs on the hunt, and all of a sudden they just sat down and looked. And we were like, what's going on? And a hyena ran by, and then another and another. And they waited until they went over the horizon, and they started the hunt again. If they had made a kill, the hyenas would have come in and taken it from them. Yeah.
Would a hyena attack?
Yeah, a smaller cheetah, yeah. Cheetah. The predators will attack other predators.
Yeah.
And that's how they look at you as well. So they don't look at us as being on the food chain. They look at us as competition.
Gotcha.
And so they'll go after the young, especially. Actually, most of the animals, the Cape buffalo, if they found a young cheetah, they take care of it.
Oof.
Yeah.
Tough life.
This area, Morocopes, is also one of the great places to see what's left of the rhinos in Serengeti. And again, they're very, very protected, and the park is very protective of it. You have to get a special permit to get in there, and you're under observation the whole time you're there.
Huh.
So yeah, there are rules on how close you can approach, and they really limit the visitation, which is great. They've had enough success so they've been able to triple the size of the area that these guys are being protected in. So
they're gaining.
Yeah, they're gaining. Yeah.
How did you make the choice of going black and white on this?
It just seemed better that it's the light was kind of flat, so for some reason it just looked nicer to me. It's okay in color, but I thought it was better in black and white. I tend to do a lot of stuff in black and white. Just a view of what the environment's like in the evening. This is our camp, beautiful camp up on the high country, tented camp. We had a limited amount of time on generators for power, and photographers need, to be able to recharge your batteries at night. we had an hour after dinner to charge, and then an hour in the morning before we got going. And we got up in the morning, and all the lights were out. And we got escorted to the vehicles. They had some snacks for us by flashlights. And I was like, "What happened to the power?" And he goes, "The hyenas ate through the wires last night." So, one thing that was cool here is the baboons came up on the top of the hills here, and they sat up here during the evening, obviously to get out of the way of the predators. We had a big thunderstorm rolled through, and there was other high points on either side. And every time the lightning went off, they were reacting. So it was really kind of neat. It was like they were sitting watching a movie, watching the thunderstorm go through. So that was really fun. So now we're getting out into the main plains. Again, this is all zebra, and out here you can see wildebeest. We don't have a lot of activity going, but it's kind of fun. So driving in,
you get a sense of how high the grass is.
Yeah, taking some shots.
Yeah. Did you have to pay to get that bird to fly through the shots?
Yes. We had him come back several times. Here's what it looks like through from your side, right? So on the other side. So yeah, these guys are cool. The zebras are. I really like being around them. And then nothing, absolutely nothing. So at this point, we start checking these trees out for leopards. And you may wonder, what are these guys doing? There's nothing in that tree. But actually there is.
Hello.
And it took us a while to get her to come out.
And what was she doing in the tree?
Sleeping.
Sleeping.
And now she decided to take off. So we took a few shots.
Now for the photographers, go back to that for a second. What kind of lenses are we looking at there?
This is a 70 to 200 old style on a Canon. This is a 500 millimeter. This is a Nikon, and I think that's a 70 to 200, and this is a 5 or a 600 millimeter lens. And that's a big male. This guy's really beautiful.
That's with your 500?
Yeah. Yeah, they love the yellow acacia trees. So this guy is, he didn't move out of this, but he looked at us, gave us some nice looks. Now this guy was literally, he had his nose tucked up. You could barely see it. We spotted him by his tail, was hanging down, or she, I think. Slammed up in there. So we waited for this animal to move for probably 2 hours. It was getting pretty close to dark. And, it came out and it's just looking at us like, what? Anyway. So
now, how do they
manage
to not fall off the tree?
Yeah, they're extreme.
It's 11 hours.
That's disconcerting. They're amazing. They're very strong. They actually, if they take their prey up into the tree.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're very strong.
Here again, I mean, go back for a second. If you think, were you shooting a sequence of shots here?
Yeah.
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 So,
from here, I just started blaring.
Yeah.
And I have a camera that's 20 frames a second, so I'm just and got that guy.
Yeah, because to get that particular motion, that's not one you get.
Yeah.
By waiting for it.
That's right. So again, here we are, and the herd is back. Just the size of these herds is just unbelievable. We saw what looked like a fire in the distance, and we went to investigate and report it. And it's just the dust being picked up.
Yeah.
And then this just gives you a feeling of what it's like in the middle of that.
And is this the Dry season, wet?
No,
or in
this is
between?
actually wet season.
This
but
is wet season
there's-
with all of that dust.
Yeah, there's
So you can imagine what that dust is like in the dry season.
yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, you can barely see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was dry enough so they were able to pick it up. So again, they've moved into a dry area, and they were extremely tightly packed. And this went on forever and ever and ever. You can see they just fill the frame.
And they get along with each other.
Yeah.
They're mixed.
This is the commute, afternoon commute. I just was amazed by this. They're just rolling. They, just kept moving. We saw a couple of lions up in a tree, and so we moved over there, and we're sitting watching this scene. But we hadn't seen the lion in the grass. Neither did that zebra.
It was in the process of losing its life.
Yeah. So this is a cheetah with two sub-adults, right? They're almost fully grown. And she's been in the process of training these guys. They've been a little over anxious. So at this point, she's got more than two, right? But she's basically said, you stay here and she's gonna take off. She starts on the run, and they wait for a few seconds, and then they follow. And so you have this scenario coming at you.
And when you say run, what do you mean by the cheetah?
When she actually takes off, you can't believe how quickly she goes, and they get up to 70 miles an hour.
Which they can do for roughly how long?
I don't know, 200, 300, 400 yards, something like that. Longer than you would expect.
And at that speed, that covers quite a distance.
Yeah, and usually they walk up. They don't really sneak up. They walk up, but they'll pace themselves. So they wait until the animals are down feeding, and then they'll move up a little bit. And they get close enough to where they know they have a chance, and they've picked out something. So they're looking for an opportunity, and then they'll charge. And with a lot of the animals, they have a sort of a cocky feeling, like I'm okay, and then they'll misjudge. They don't make it all the time. They're pretty successful though. They have a pretty high success rate when they charge. But we've been with a set of cheetahs for the whole day, and they made like 5 or 6 attempts and got nothing. Yeah. And this turns out to be a nothing burger as well. So, but I love this guy flying through the air and the wildebeest just exploding around him.
And the wildebeest is the target.
Well, we don't know. The female's over here. So here's the hunter. And I believe there's a little one over on the right-hand side that she's after.
Okay.
They've charged a couple of, there's one over here, but she didn't go after that. And just a few seconds later, she stopped. So whatever happened, she wasn't able to get anything. And the sun went down, and we had to leave them. This was another scenario, though. This happened after the fact. And these guys will basically, it looks like a scrum, right?
Yeah.
And they'll line up like this, and they pushed the cheetah back, just like, get out of here. The bulls will do this occasionally. Anyway, just amazing animals. I love the cheetahs.
Roughly distance looking at between them and the antelope in the background?
They're probably 40, 50 yards away.
Yeah.
This is a long lens. They're closer to me. And these guys they're paying attention, but they're also feeding. Yeah. And they'll actually, if the cheetahs were to move away, they'll follow them. Just to keep watching them to make sure they're actually leaving us. Because these guys will try to come back when they're not watching. Yeah. So you get that sort of behavior with the herds. There's at least 6 of the animals right now that are staring at them, right? You got this guy, these two, this guy, this guy, this guy, that guy. They're all paying attention, and the rest are eating. So anyway, this guy did get something.
Now he looks small.
Yeah, that's one of the hyenas. And yeah, they're dog size. So wildebeest on the move. Decided they're out of here. And they go in these long lines, like I said.
And in this case, that the head of that presumably is the leader that they're following.
Yeah, at least for now.
For now.
I don't know if they're like the geese where they trade off, but they don't need to, they're not trying to do the thing that the geese do. But yeah, I believe it's matrilineal. Two brothers, late at night or late in the evening. These two are great.
Because?
They just look amazing.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
They've got a terrific hairdresser.
So here's what it looks like when the herds have left.
Uh-huh.
And this is a cheetah with her young ones, and they're just sitting here, just looking like waiting.
And that would be a typical litter, 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these guys, they're following these guys, you know. So like I said, that's how they approach. And these guys saw them and they got too close, and so they're all running off. And so they're left wondering. And you just wonder sometimes, like, how do they make it when it's that barren? And they're real patient. They'll stand up, look around. There's nothing. Okay, I'll just take a little cat nap and then take a look again and then start walking. And yeah, and so it goes.
Now they look like they're looking straight at you.
They are, and they're approaching the vehicle. And it can get a little tight. It can get very tight.
So what happened here?
Not a whole lot.
You guys were in the vehicle, right?
Yeah. So yeah, distance-wise here, I'm 1 seat ahead of this guy.
Uh-huh.
And this is Isabella, I was told. She had one young one with her.
Yeah.
And just a sweet cat. I mean, really, just really nice cat.
I'm not sure if I would call that look sweet. I mean,
You'll see what it looks like when it's not sweet. Here's Isabella from below, which most people don't get to see.
Correct. Now she's on top of the vehicle at that point.
And here's not a sweet look.
And this one is what?
That's a young male.
A young male
Yeah,
on top of the vehicle?
Yeah, that's with us. Again, I'm about a seat away from him.
But why did they come up there?
To get a view. We're a big anthill from their perspective, so, or a termite mound. Yeah, so they get up on the vehicle. They're pretty they're pretty calm around us, but they can be a little intimidating when they get in the vehicle with you.
Some of the people watching this may have seen it before, but if not, you can go to YouTube. There is a video of this. It's not very long, where the cheetah is coming into the vehicle, and the look on the young man's face when this occurs is, put yourself in the same position.
Yeah.
You've come for a nice African safari and you're taking pictures, and all of a sudden you have company that you didn't necessarily feel that was welcomed.
It's extremely rare that they get in the vehicle.
Yeah. This is a young one, right?
Yeah, this is a young one. And I felt no sense of threat.
Yeah.
It was just curious. It's like, gosh, what's this? What's in here? Hey, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Boy, it feels good on the claws, right?
Right.
And then he comes up to, now again, I'm 1 seat away, and he's kind of like, hello. And off they go. So that's the end of the presentation for the most part. This is the wizard.